Hello, this is a recap of American series called The Last Man on Earth, Part 2. Please don't forget to subscribe. Let's begin. After Philip and Carol hit a limo on the road, Philip runs to check who's inside it. To his surprise, a beautiful woman named Melissa comes out and introduces herself just when Philip was happy to have married Carol. He falls back to square one and wants to divorce her to be with the beautiful woman. It turned out that she saw the Alive in Tucson sign and they come here 2 weeks ago, but has been driving around because the sign had no address. Philip hasn't regretted anything in his life more than not writing his address on the thing. Upon reaching home, Philip tries his best to impress the new lady, but Carol doesn't let him. She is brutally honest about his filthy habits, like the toilet bowl and the garbage house he lived in before she came into his life. Philip invites Melissa to stay at his house, but she rushes him that she is fine in the house across the street. Later, the women are having a chat in the kitchen when Philip arrives with his newly groomed hair and beard. He read it for Melissa, but gets compliment from only his wife. At night, they have dinner together, and throughout the time, Philip tries to flirt with Melissa. He agrees to whatever she says, making up things to show that they share the same interests. However, by the end of the dinner, he drowns in his own lies and makes a fool out of himself. Later that night, Melissa comes to his room and invites him to the shower. He excitedly falls her behind, but finds Carol waiting for him. Suddenly, he wakes up covered in sweat from the nightmare. The following morning, Melissa knocks on his door and finds him working out, exaggerating to show her that he is a provider. But Melissa sees through the act. She has come to ask him about the car outside her house. It is revealed that he brought it for her because he felt bad about smashing into her limo. Carol is not happy about him doing favors to another woman when he hasn't even fixed the door that he broke. Later that day, he tries to fix it but proves he is the worst handyman ever. Melissa comes to invite him and Carol for drinks, but Philip lies about Carol being sick and goes alone. As Melissa gets drunk, she reveals that she would have slept with him if he wasn't married, but that ship has sailed long ago. Philip is in shock because these are the words he so desperately wanted to hear. He immediately goes to Carol to break up with her, but finds her making a portrait of them. She thanks him for making the door no matter how bad it is. Philip can get himself to ask her for divorce after that. In the following scene, we see a sports car stop in front of the Alive in Tucson sign. A man gets out of the car, making it evident that the other three are not the only people alive on the earth. The man, eager to find another human, drive to Tucson. Back at home, Philip, Carol, and Melissa are chatting and drinking. Carol tells Melissa everything about her and Philip's marriage, much to Philip's annoyance because he doesn't want Melissa to think he is in love with Carol. When he gets a chance to talk to her alone, he brings up yesterday's topic. Melissa is embarrassed that she told him about her sexual desires and blame it on the alcohol. Philip tells her she has nothing to be embarrassed about, but she emphasizes that she would never sleep with a married man like him. Philip's face drops as he again misses a chance to be with her because of his so-called marriage. The next day, he thinks of a plan and share it with his pool buddies. If he impregnates only Carol, their children will have to repopulate the earth with each other. But if he has babies with 2 women, the possibility of incest is crossed out. Now all Philip has to do is get Carol and Melissa on board with his plan. In the following scene, he goes to Melissa's house and asks her if she wants the best for the earth and the human life. When she affirms, he takes it as signs that she would sleep with him for the betterment of the earth. Then he goes to Carol and pretends to cry about something he is very worried about. After she asks him what it is, he tells her about the possibility of the children having to repopulate with each other. Carol hates the thought of something like that happening, and Philip takes this opportunity to suggest the idea of him and Melissa having babies. Carol is strictly against it, but he asks her to give it a thought. He also pretends that he would hate to be with another woman but is willing to do anything for the earth. When Carol finds out that Melissa told him she would sleep with him if he wasn't married, she is furious. She kicks Philip out of the house and goes to Melissa to curse her as well. Later, Melissa comes to Philip and asks him what he said to his wife. She too insults him and walks away in anger. He now desperately has to think of a way to make it up to them. So he organizes a dunk the shank game, where the woman can press a button to dunk him into the water and do it repeatedly until their anger wears off. However, his plan falls as they completely ignore him and he resorts to dunking himself several times. 3 hours later, the woman asks him to come inside. He thinks he will make him apologize, but to his surprise, Carol allows him to repopulate with Melissa. Initially, Philip assumes they are playing a trick, but Melissa also affirms that she is ready to have sex with him. But there are some conditions they have to follow to ensure the relationship is strictly professional. The two can only sleep 3 times a month and 3 times a day. Also, this process will stop right after Melissa gets pregnant. Philip pretends to be truthfully agreeing to the contract, but goes home and screams into a pillow out of excitement. The next day is the day they finally get to be together. Philip cleans up and wears nice clothes before being stopped by Carol. She gives him peanuts for stamina and orders him to not enjoy the sex and be back home as fast as he can. Sometime later, he brings Melissa out on a romantic date. He wants to make it special, while Melissa just wants to get done with the work and send him back to his wife. Philip has even created a firework display for her, which can be seen from miles away. The man in the sports car sees this and turns his car around, looking for the source. He has been in the city for a week looking for people and was about to leave before seeing the fireworks. Just when Philip and Melissa are about to kiss, they hear the noise of the car rumbling. Philip thinks it is a Corolla and design a noise, but when the man steps out of the car, both of them are surprised. He introduced himself as a Todd, a technician from the east who was planning to go to Mexico before he saw Philip's sign on the road. Philip asked Todd to go away because they are busy, but now that another man is here, Melissa doesn't see the point of them being together. In the following scene, Philip returns home and tells Carol what happened. She is over the moon that her husband won't have to sleep with another woman anymore. However, Philip commented on Todd's body and insists that Melissa wouldn't have sex with him. Later, they gather outside to officially introduce themselves while chatting. Todd reveals that his favorite movie is The Shawshank Redemption, which also happens to be Melissa's favorite. To contribute to the conversation, Philip also blabbers about Tom Hanks' great performance when the man is not even in the movie. Upon seeing Todd get all the attention, Philip makes inappropriate jokes about his weight. While the one condemning him for it, Todd doesn't seem to mind. He reveals that he started overeating after his parents passed away when he was little. He has been bullied his entire life and has come to a point where no comment bothers him anymore. A while later, both Melissa and Todd leave to take a rest for the night. Carol comments that she felt sparks between the two. She is ready to be their matchmaker, much to Philip's annoyance. The following day, she sets up a city date for the 4 of them, but plans to back her out at the last minute. That way, Todd and Melissa can enjoy the day together. She invites them to her house and they pretend to vomit. She also urges Philip to stay with her to help around the house. As a result, Melissa and Todd get the day to themselves. They ride go-kart, play golf, and they have a lot of fun together. Philip spies on them the entire time, commenting on Todd's lack of knowledge about how to woo a woman. Later that day, he returns home and is helping Carol clean up the dishes using the machine she invented. She reveals that Melissa and Todd are going on a second date because the first one was fun. Philip urges her to stop setting them up, but it turned out Melissa was the one who asked Todd out this time. Philip cannot risk them being alone together again, so he turns the date into a double date. The 4 of them go to the tennis court where Philip takes off his shirt and asks Todd to do the same. He hopes the man will be embarrassed, but Todd does it without hesitation. Suddenly, Melissa gasps at something. Philip is glad that she doesn't like Todd's body, but it turns out she's looking at a scar in the side of his belly. Todd discloses that he donated his kidney to his foster brother when he was young. The woman feels bad for him and makes him the center of attention yet again. Philip tries his best to divert their attention, but they would much rather listen to Todd all day. It turned out that the person he donated the kidney to did not survive the transplant. Talking about the accident ruins Todd's mood. He apologizes to everyone and walks away. A while later, Carol and Philip go looking for him and find him and Melissa kissing. Carol thinks that Philip made Todd take his shirt off because he knew the transplant story would kickstart Todd's relationship with Melissa. Philip takes a compliment, but is burning with jealousy inside. At night, he goes to Melissa's place and asks her to never trust the facts because they are not good people in general. Melissa calls him an ass before shutting the door to his face. Philip begs for her forgiveness, which makes her feel bad, and she eventually opens the door for him again. Following that, they go to Philip's favorite bar and meets his pool buddies. Melissa gets to see the real him for the first time, as he admits Shawshank Redemption is not his favorite movie of all time. He says that he wanted to fit in with them and thought lying was the only way to make good friends. As the conversation proceeds, Philip feels like Melissa might be interested in him. He tells her how much he likes her and asks her out on a date. However, to his utter embarrassment, Melissa declines because he is a married man and she is dating Todd. Philip quickly recovers by saying that he was practicing his line to confess his feeling to Carol. Melissa knows it is a lie, but she doesn't call him out for it because it would make the interaction more awkward. Please wait for part 3. I hope you liked the video. Don't forget to subscribe. Bye!